Today we are making small batch carrot cake. Now Easter is coming, and what would Easter be without carrot cake? Now the small batch recipe is perfect if there's just a couple of you for dinner, or if it's the whole family but you only have a couple of carrot cake lovers. It's the perfect amount. Hi, it's Leanne from YourHomeBasedMom.com. Join me in the kitchen as we make small batch recipes with big taste. For our carrot cake today, we're going to use a 6-inch cake pan. Now I have sprayed this, and I've used my favorite spray, which is Baker's Joy. This is like a spray and a flour all in one. So if you don't have Baker's Joy, go ahead and spray it and flour your cake pan. And then I have cut just a circle the size of my pan out of parchment paper. You can also use wax paper. And we're going to lay that in the bottom of our pan. It's going to make it super easy to get your cake out. We're going to start by mixing together our wet ingredients. And we're going to need a 1/4 cup of granulated sugar, a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. We're also going to use a 1/4 cup of, I'm using canola oil. You could use vegetable oil, avocado oil, just a mild flavor oil. This oil is really what makes this cake so tender and moist. You can substitute butter if you want, but I don't think you get quite as tender of a cake, but that is an option. Then we're going to take 1 egg, add it in, and 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon, I just eyeball it, of vanilla, and mix that all together. All right, next we're ready to add in our dry ingredients. I'm using a 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour. I prefer unbleached flour. I have got a 1/2 teaspoon, I believe that is correct, yeah, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. And then we're going to use a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And then for our seasoning, we are using 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg and a teaspoon of cinnamon. If you're not a fan of nutmeg, just go ahead and use maybe a little bit more cinnamon. And we're going to mix that up just until our dry ingredients are almost incorporated. All right, once we've got that flour almost incorporated, we're going to add in our carrots. I am using 3/4 cup of grated carrots. I just grated them by hand. You can put them in a food processor if you prefer. The reason I do it until my dry ingredients is almost incorporated is I don't want to over mix this, okay? Especially with small batch recipes, it's really easy to over mix something. And if you over mix a cake, it tends to give you a tougher crumb and not be quite as tender. So just mix until that carrot is incorporated. And that's another reason why I like to do these small batch recipes by hand instead of with an electric mixer or in a stand mixer. All right, we've got it there. We're going to take our cake pan that we prepared, and we're just going to, oh, you know what else? I forgot. Let me go grab my walnuts. We're going to add some walnuts to this. After you add in a 1/4 cup of walnuts, pour it into the pan and then bake it at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 30 to 35 minutes. While our cake is baking, we're going to mix up our cream cheese frosting. And, you know, what would a carrot cake be without cream cheese frosting? It's kind of the best part of the carrot cake. So in my bowl, I have got 2 ounces, which is 1/4 of a block of a cream cheese, and it is softened. And I had 3 tablespoons of softened butter. All right, and we're going to mix that together. I'm going to use a hand mixer. You could do it by hand, but it's faster and easier with a hand mixer, and easier to get it nice and smooth and creamy. All right, next we're going to add in a little vanilla. Again, I'm going to just eyeball it, probably about a 1/2 teaspoon, and a cup of powdered sugar. And then we're going to use some heavy cream. Now, if you don't have heavy cream, go ahead and use whole milk. If all you have is fat-free milk, use that. The creamier the milk, the creamier your frosting is going to be. I use 1/2 and 1/2. And I'm going to start just with a little bit. And I think I'm going to start by just adding in like a teaspoon. Okay? I'm going to mix it together and see if I need to add more. All right, I think that was just the right amount. I've got a nice creamy frosting that I can spread on my cake. Now, if you find that it's too runny, add in a little bit more powdered sugar. If it's too stiff, add in a little bit more cream, but just do it a little bit at a time. And as soon as our cake comes out of the oven, we're gonna let it cool completely on a cooling rack, and then we'll frost it. You'll know the cake is done when a toothpick comes out clean. So our carrot cake is totally cooled, and we're ready to add our cream cheese frosting. Now you have 2 choices. You can put the frosting just on the top, or all the way around. I'm going to take it a little easy today and just put it on the top, and down the sides of the cake stand. And then We will, after we get it all frosted. I don't know about you, but I like a lot of frosting to my cake. So whatever your preferred frosting to cake ratio is will determine how much frosting you put on. But I like my ratio pretty high. So after you got it frosted, you can, if you put walnuts in and you want a little bit more walnut, just it looks pretty to garnish the top with a little bit more chopped walnut. And there you have it, the perfect amount of carrot cake. Now, carrot cake is not just for Easter, especially when you can make it in small batch form. Thanks for joining me in the kitchen today. Be sure to check out my other videos here on YouTube, and we'll see you in the next video.